Comparison is the thief of joy? Not for me. Much like Kamala, I love Venn diagrams. Welcome to a series I'm calling Familiar Feud. From Teletubbies vs. Booba to Handy Manny vs. Bob the Builder. Some shows just scratch my brain in a similar way. Today, as you saw from the title, we are comparing Little Bear to Franklin. And right off the bat, no, these two never had a crossover. Although many people, including myself, really convinced themselves there was one. I was searching all over. No crossover exists between these two cozy kings. This is my intro. It establishes chaos and confusion right at the start. You've never seen anything like it. But lovers, welcome back. This video is unsponsored, so allow me for just a second to geek out over my video where I go to every Great Wolf Lodge to play Magic Quest. That is it. I just need to mention it, okay? It's unsponsored, so I need to trickle down the views from this video into this video. And that's it. Short and sweet. Just like these two little kings. Both the Little Bear and Franklin television shows were produced in the 90s by Nelvana, and they both aired on Nick Jr., even sharing some executive producers. But the books they're based off of are written by different people in very much different eras. The first Franklin book was published in 1986, while the first Little Bear book was published in 1957.
You're old.
An almost 30-year difference. Let's start with the classic collection of both book series. In an effort to respect the elderly, we will start with the first Little Bear book. Next year, this book will turn 70. Not this exact copy. This is brand new, and I wrote my name in it because I can read. This full box set includes Little Bear, Little Bear's Visit, and Father Bear Comes Home. That plus these two books, Little Bear's Friend and A Kiss for Little Bear, are all the original books from 1957 to 1968. The next book, To Grandma's House, would not come out until 2002. New publisher, new authors, only reviving it after the television show. Alright, now that you know which books are the classics, let's go post-it note by post-it note. This book was made for a boring old man narrator voice. Just listen.
It is cold, see the snow come down. Little Bear said, Mother Bear, I am cold, see the snow, I want to put something on. So Mother Bear made something for Little Bear. See, Little Bear, she said, I have something for my Little Bear. Here it is, put it on your head. Oh, said Little Bear, it is a hat, hooray. Now I will not be cold.
Surely you see what I'm talking about. So this whole first story is just Little Bear going outside and coming back inside because he's cold, and every time Mother Bear makes him a new article of clothing. And I was confused by this because I remember from the show, the most he ever wears is a scarf. Okay, Mom, I'm gonna play in the snow. Alright, let me see you before you go. Good heavens! Littlest Bear Cubbenstein the Third, you will freeze to death. Go put something on. Oh, fine. Now that's much better. And I'm sorry to say I freaking called it. He ended up all natural at the end of this too. Mama Bear made all those clothes for nothing. In fact, according to this book, the clothes made him cold.
Huh?
I want a fur coat too. Mother Bear took the hat, the coat, and the snow pants. See, said Mother Bear, there is your fur coat, because he has a natural fur coat. Hooray, said Little Bear, here is my fur coat. Now I will not be cold. And this is actually how the book ends, and he was not cold. What do you think of that? Wow. What do I think? I think this story was honestly pretty weak, and you're lucky that the artwork was so enchanting. I mean, just look at this border on the next page. The warmth this exudes makes me feel like I can run into the snow butt-ass naked. The second story in this first book is full of a lot more drama. Little Bear wakes up on his birthday, his mother is nowhere to be found, so Little Bear, who is at the oldest 6, starts scrambling to make birthday soup for his friends who are coming over. On this kid's birthday, he's thinking of his party guests, because he is an excellent host. And how do they repay him? Thank you, Cat, says Little Bear. I hope you like birthday soup. I am making birthday soup. Cat says, can you really cook? If you can really make it, I will eat it. Sit your ass down, Cat. You're so ungrateful, and what was your generous gift anyway? A puny pumpkin? You're lucky you weren't uninvited on the spot. Little Bear is trying to make the best of his birthday and eat the concoction he lovingly put together, even though he'd rather have birthday cake. And look at his little face as he eats. I am feeling so maternal right now. I want this kid to have the best birthday ever. And guess what? Catch this. Luckily, Mama Bear has a surprise up her sleeve. And dear God, why is this picture so ominous? Why is she enshrouded in darkness? One of you on Blue Sky made this meme, and I'm angry I didn't make it. Also, hold on, something I just caught right now because Little Bear's cuteness was distracting me. Why is Cat making the Chad face? Mew. Like, ooh, he looks devious. Here's the last page of this story. "Oh, Mother Bear," says Little Bear, "what a big, beautiful birthday cake. Birthday soup is good to eat, but not as good as birthday cake. I am so happy you did not forget." "Yes, happy birthday, Little Bear," says Mother Bear. "This birthday cake is a surprise for you. I never did forget your birthday, and I never will." Sweet ending, right? I don't know. I don't think that surprise was worth it. Look at this picture. Look at how scared he was. Look at his little face. Apologize. This story was so much better than the first. I think his friend group is so distinct and iconic. As sweet as he is with his parents, if they were the only characters, it would not have gotten as big as it is. You'll see later, but Duck carries. I love this idiot right here. Little Bear wanting to go to the moon with his flimsy cardboard hat is so 50s it hurts. Flying to the moon used to be so whimsical. There was a whole song about it. Fly me to the moon. He didn't want to meet aliens. He just wanted to be on the moon. In this last story in the first book, we see how imaginative Little Bear is. But Mother Bear pulls him back down to earth. "I wish I could sit on a cloud and fly all around," said Little Bear. "You can't have that wish, my little bear," said Mother Bear. "Then I wish I could find a Viking boat," said Little Bear. "You can't have that wish, my little bear." I thought this would end with her saying, "You can't do these things without me too, to protect you," which would have been a lot cuter than the actual ending where she just says a bunch of things they've done already. I don't know if this is a lesson in gratitude, but I didn't vibe with it. It felt like she was shutting down his whimsy a bit. TV show Mama Bear plays along a bit more. Book 2, Little Bear's Visit. The tone is established so well in this second book. The stories in the first were completely unrelated to each other, but every section of this book is about Little Bear's visit with his grandparents. From Grandma Bear telling Little Bear a story of when his mom was little and she befriended a robin, to Grandpa telling a story about a goblin, to Little Bear being picked up exhausted from his long day, having fun with his grandparents. How sweet, how charming. This book was much better than the first. Before we continue with Little Bear, let's quickly jump to Franklin. Now, Franklin's classic treasury includes Franklin in the Dark, Hurry Up Franklin, Franklin Fibs, and Franklin is Bossy. I went to write my name in this book so everyone knows it belongs to me, but look at this. My name's not Conrad and Zach and Kristen. What the heck? As always, post-it notes. Franklin being afraid of the dark is the focus of the very first book, because this is why he won't go in his shell. In fact, his shell is completely separate from him. We see Franklin pulling it behind him like luggage. Horrifying imagery because turtles cannot fully leave their shells. It is a part of their body. Imagine turtles reading a book about humans, and the first image of us is dragging our skin on the ground. One day, Papa, one day I'll be brave enough to put on that pesky skin of mine. Good Lord. Why was this such a common misconception? Did we just assume they're like hermit crabs? Like, don't get me wrong, the art is adorable, but I can't help but overthink these things. It's my whole damn brand! So Franklin asks all the animals for help. Some animals are to be expected, like common birds, but he also casually meets a lion and a polar bear? Did he used to live in a zoo? Where are we? Surprisingly, each animal found Franklin's predicament very relatable. Each of them were scared of a core aspect of who they are. A duck afraid of swimming. A lion afraid of his roar. A polar bear afraid of freezing. Could a human like you help me out? Well, sometimes I don't like being alone with my own thoughts and they scare me, so I doom scroll until I can't see anything but static and I don't feel anything at all. Does that help? No! For comparison's sake, let's look at the art side by side. Look at how colorful and detailed Franklin's backgrounds are. That 80s vibrance and liveliness really contrasts with Little Bear's muted, simple, I wouldn't say minimalist, but it feels like I'm looking at a dusty trinket in an antique store, if that makes sense. The charms of these original books are way different than I thought they'd be. Another difference is the food. They put emphasis that Franklin's supper is cold. These crisp lettuce bowls with some berries and bugs. Meanwhile, Little Bear was making warm soup. And I'm sorry, look at this uncomfortable hard-ass chairs. Little Bear wouldn't be caught dead on these concrete seats. Oh, and by the way, he slept in his shell for the first time. Can we get some W's in the chat for Franklin? He did it. None of us believed in him at all. In Hurry Up, Franklin, we hear that Franklin has trouble staying on task. His attention is everywhere else to the point where he is late all the time. So this is obviously a lesson he has to learn. But look at this picture. I'd be touching grass so much more. Even the grasshopper is cute. Look at his big eye looking up at the bunny. I want this as a shirt. I see it, I like it, I want it, I got it. I am going to weaponize the shit out of my iron-on, print-on bullshit. Come on now. Oh, dude, look at the next page. I want a shirt of this too. Did you actually think I'd stop? This story in particular had a lot of great art. Look at this next one. I love how concerned the fish look as Franklin jumps in the water. They're like, oh no, he's gonna be late again. What a dumbass. This one says Croy Toim. If tears are welling in my eyes, you know what shirt I'm grabbing. I was so excited to show you this shirt, I didn't even tell you why they were crying. Snail was so afraid he wasn't going to get to Bear's party on time, so Franklin helped out the one creature slower than he is and didn't get distracted for once. Please hurry, whispered Snail, but Franklin needed no urging. He moved surely and steadily. He hurried past the blackberries. He hurried past the gooseberries. He even hurried past the raspberries. Impressive. Now let's go back to Little Bear before we complete this Franklin treasury. Both Little Bear and Franklin have a lot of freedom and go into the woods by themselves often, but dude, Little Bear is put to work. Will you go down to the river? Will you catch a fish for us? Yes, I will, said Little Bear. So Little Bear went down to the river, and there he saw Owl. Owl was sitting on a log. This is the first mention of Owl! Look how cute and fluffy he is! Owl said, someday you will be a big bear. You will catch fish, and you will sail in a boat like Father Bear. So even though this is the first time we met Owl, it seems like the two were familiar with each other, which is wild because Owl's absence was felt at the birthday party. Who? Owl. Who? Owl. They pretended to fish, and Owl caught a mini Moby Dick. I love this art so much, so naturally, I must be stopped. And yes, that does say Moby Dick Jr. I would be enchanted by Little Bear's imaginary mermaid, but it really confused me that he described her like this, quote, a mermaid's hair is blue and green, like the ocean, blue and green. And also, and maybe her eyes are silver, silver like the moon. But then this is how he imagined her. Cute, but where is her blue hair and pronouns? Also, what is the mermaid doing in this picture? She looks like a siren. She looks like she's about to drown that cub. I don't like it. Little Bear's friend. The scenery shot we open with, not only beautiful art, but we also see way more of the area. It's rural, but still lively. There's a shepherd with a sheep. I don't know if that's a chapel or what. Little Bear is just atop a tree taking this all in. Simplistic but stylized, you know? Little Bear befriends Emily and her doll Lucy, and she is lost in the woods. Man or bear, Emily chose bear. Just like everything else in the series, it is said very matter-of-factly, and I don't really know what this last picture is supposed to convey. Emily and I are friends. Easy, Little Bear. Emily was only in town for the summer, and when the two said goodbye, Little Bear cried. That's why I'm wearing my crying shirt. Their friendship is adorable. She was gonna give him her doll Lucy, but she quickly took it back. Little Bear, you can have Lucy for keeps. I will give her to you. Oh, began Little Bear. But before he could say anything, Emily took Lucy back again. Oops! I forgot. Lucy has to come to school with me. So she settles on giving him a pen. Wow. And he uses that very pen to write her a letter. Adorable. So apparently, in this story, it's revealed that they're both going to school, just different schools. But I didn't know that Little Bear went to school. In the TV show, he does not go to school. I would say that maybe the TV show takes place earlier, but he meets Emily actually in the show too. There's a multiverse, I guess.
Oh, brother!
A Kiss for Little Bear is such a strange story, no mere post-it note can contain my confusion. First, Little Bear makes this demonic art. If this was in a kid's book nowadays, Fox News would shit itself and push to ban it. Don't censor Little Bear, you sensitive freaking freaks. Also, super fun fact, Maurice, the original illustrator of Little Bear, also illustrated where the wild things are. So this is actually a really cute Easter egg. Back to this bizarre story. Little Bear's grandma loves this freaky art, and now Hen, who delivered the art, now has to send a kiss back to Little Bear from his grandma. Weird. Stranger danger. This starts a game of telephone, but with kisses. A pre-quarantine classic. Then these skunks just end up making out.
Hey, yo!
Little Skunk saw another little skunk. She was very pretty. He gave the kiss to her, and she gave it back. And he gave it back, and then Hen came along.
All right, I get it!
Too much kissing, she said. And then they're back on track, and Hen ends up giving Little Bear the kiss in the end, so spreading all those extra germs around was completely unnecessary. The skunks who met through this kiss chain end up getting married, and the last picture is Little Bear kissing the skunk wife while the husband skunk looks pissed. And given what skunks do as a defense mechanism, he was probably pissed in multiple ways. Is it just me, or is the tone of this one super different? Alright, back to the Franklin stories, and then we have to move on to the TV show and movies. The beginning of Franklin Fibbed is so iconic. Every story starts with a list of things that Franklin can do. Franklin could slide down a riverbank all by himself. He could count forwards and backwards. He could zip zippers and button buttons. He could even tie shoelaces. But Franklin could not swallow 76 flies in a blink of an eye. And that was a problem because Franklin said he could. He told all his friends he could. Franklin had fibbed. And he is ashamed. In this day and age, we call that a hyperbole, an exaggeration. In the story where Little Bear's father returns from fishing, Little Bear tells all his friends his dad might have a mermaid. So by Franklin Fibbs' logic, Little Bear's a damn liar. He just said maybe to have plausible deniability. It's really not that big of a deal. We all do it. Don't beat yourself up, dude. I'm so hungry, I could eat a cow. Oh, cool. It just so happens I have one right here. Prove it. No, I just meant prove it. Prove it. The friends really do try to get Franklin to prove it. The next morning, Franklin's friends were waiting. Beaver had a surprise. Eat them, she dared. Franklin wrapped a woolly winter scarf twice around his neck. Can't, he squawked. I have a sore throat. His friends laughed. What fucking instigators, dude. Leave him alone. You went through all that effort to catch flies just to humiliate him. And listen to the way this story ends. I can't eat 76 flies in the blink of an eye, admitted Franklin. We guessed, said Bear. But, said Franklin, I can eat 76 flies. Oh, Franklin, that's not impressive at all. Don't care, didn't ask. Did I say I could eat a whole cow? I meant, I could eat a burger. Wow, that's just as cool. Cheers for the
She's so
brave. Peter's not gonna like this one. The last story is Franklin is bossy. He and Bear get into a huge fight. It was really dramatic. I was quite scared. But really the only thing I want to point out is how funny this picture is. Slowest one wins! That's not fair. If this were a contest, and you know what, maybe it should be because I put verses in the title, I think I gotta give the books round to Franklin. I feel like it was at an unfair advantage because it was written for slightly older kids. Whereas Little Bear got a bit repetitive. Although I will say the last Little Bear book was bonkers. I'm gonna give Little Bear half a point for making me spiral. The art moved me. It moved me further away from sanity than I was before. Pretty cool. The first episode of Little Bear is comprised of 3 parts, so just like in the books, it is rapid fire. Franklin's first episode is made up of 2 parts, so he has a little bit more time to tell a story. The very first Little Bear show is like the first book, but way cuter. It's clear Little Bear only wanted his mom to make him snow clothes, so he could spend more time with her. And I love the way she makes sewing machine noises while grabbing already made clothes.
There you go.
In the book, she fully made him clothes. Ends the same way, though, with a natural fur coat. But that still isn't enough for Little Bear. He pushes his mom outside, forcing her to spend time with him. Good on you, kid. Make yourself heard. Seeing him play in the snow was really cute. He made this ugly, mouthless snow bear. I was waiting to be hit by nostalgia, but I felt absolutely nothing until I heard this laugh. Breaking news, mother is mothering. That is the sweetest, most beautiful chuckle I ever heard, and I never forgot it all these years later. I unfortunately had to settle for the second episode of Franklin. I will only watch the episodes that are for free on YouTube. Amazon really thinks I'm gonna pay extra for Sensical? Yeah, no, that's actually nonsensical. Right at the start, I have to give another point to Franklin for that theme song, bro. Now listen, I can appreciate atmospheric, calming instruments. I love the Little Bear intro, the classical music that ends with laughter. Da-na-na. But it does not beat how legendary Franklin's is. Here he comes with all his friends. They've got stories, got time to spend with you. And you hear the jaw harp and harmonica. Very bluegrass, which works so well for a show about a turtle. The vibe is captured perfectly, devoured. Also, this dome house, is this supposed to represent a turtle shell? I'm enchanted! I love the design of Franklin's home. And I especially love the inclusion of the narrator. Both shows are in such a storybook style, inspired by literal storybooks. I'm surprised Little Bear didn't utilize a narrator. I have to give another half point to Franklin. The narration kicks it up a notch. Also, it makes me giggle because it always starts with the fact that Franklin can count by twos and tie his shoes. But somewhere online, I forgot where I saw this, but somebody pointed out that he never wears shoes. I just took this godlike voice's word for it, and now I look like a fool.
This guy
Does not have
shoes.
One huge difference is that every animal stands upright. Fox never did that in the book. Look how much bigger Rabbit is. I love the detail of Franklin storing things in his shell like a backpack. This is the same story as Hurry Up Franklin, but not only does he play with his friends as a distraction, but he also finds little treasures along the way. And Snail's part? Holy shit, this is so much sadder in the show. Luckily, Snail's design is exactly the same. He doesn't stand upright. But just to emphasize how much slower he is, the TV show adds this.
I left yesterday.
Yesterday?
Uh-huh, so I wouldn't be late. And now I am gonna be late again.
He left yesterday, and no one helped him. Franklin was the only one to help Snail because others were so fast they didn't even see him. Slow and steady may not win the race, but at least you take in life enough to acknowledge that Snail needs better accommodations. Girly should always be carpooling. The birthday party was a complete success. Franklin gave all of the little trinkets he found along the way to Bear, the birthday boy. And I love that Bear lives in a tree. We get to see the outside of Bear's house at the end. Cute detail. Cute! I'm gonna give Little Bear an additional point because they also improved upon the original story. And an additional half point to Little Bear because they didn't make me try to give more money to Amazon. I will say in a battle of wits, Little Bear's gonna lose every time. Little Bear can't count by twos nor tie his shoes. If I were to guess, I think that Little Bear is 4 while Franklin is 6. Here's a direct comparison. In Franklin's snow day, he also builds a snow bear, and look how much better his is. Look at the ears.
Time to meet my friends.
We first see Little Bear's friends in the episode Hide and Seek. Duck's dim-wittedness is highlighted the most. She needs to be reminded the 2 rules of hide and seek that are in the name of the game. She's terrible at counting. She needs Little Bear's help finding everyone because so much time has passed. She takes it personally that everyone's hiding.
It's very hard to find your friends when they're hiding from you.
I love her. Also obsessed with this weird little frog guy, dropping wisdom for no reason.
I found you, Frog.
You cannot find what isn't lost.
Cat is such a jerk. I remember him being a jerk. I remember his creepy man voice. The entire time he's scaring the birds. He's an agent of chaos. But also, dare I say, a bad friend. Hen and Owl don't do anything really notable this episode, besides be scared. Also, when Hen is found, she went like this for some reason. Was the game of hide and seek taking so long, she went to bathe in a bucket while singing operatically?
Hen! I found you, Hen!
Oh my, looks like I'm finally found.
Oh, I guess I've been found. Covering her chicken breasts? Am I allowed to say that? In Franklin's bad day, we see the dynamic of his friend group. Otter just moved away, and Bear is trying to take Franklin's mind off of it. Beaver is a know-it-all. She really reminds me of Lucy from Peanuts. She cannot read a room for shit. If someone is wrong, she has to let them know.
This is the worstest day in the world.
There's no such word as worstest.
There is for me!
I understand why people don't like her character, but it's surprising to me how many people find Cat from Little Bear iconic, even though he's purposely mean-spirited. I'm gonna say it. Misogyny. If Cat did his usual boo thing, but he was a girl, people would not like his character as much. That's just a fact. And obviously you could dislike girl characters, but I'd prefer if you did it in a way that didn't suck ass. The parents in Little Bear are so frank. Not like the turtle.
Shut the hell up.
I mean, they are way too honest.
Maybe I can fly like a bird.
And maybe you're a little fat bear cub.
Patting his tummy was so unnecessary. Listen, Mama, I know you're proud that your boy is well fed, but you know his weight has nothing to do with why he can't fly. Come on now. Franklin's parents are also no stranger to a roast. Franklin was having a terrible day when he accidentally broke his favorite mug, and his dad correctly pointed out that it was in fact his fault.
Oh, Franklin.
It's not my fault.
It was that bad-tempered elbow of yours, right?
Franklin may have growled back, but things could have been a lot worse. I'll show you a bad-tempered beau, old man! But later on in that same episode, Franklin had a cry temper tantrum, and his dad helps him through it. Big feelings are okay, except when you're Papa Bear. That scared the shit out of me. In the season 3 episode Monster Pudding, Little Bear's dad is just in kind of a bad mood. He doesn't yell or anything, he's just irritated. Even doing this weird grunt clearing the throat to acknowledge his wife is leaving.
I have some errands to run. Can you look after things while I'm gone?
I guess.
Mother Bear says that Dad is quite the monster today in a joking way, but Little Bear can't read tone and he doesn't know expressions. So for the rest of the episode, Little Bear is scared that his dad is actually turning into a monster. I suspected there's a little bit of truth in this depiction. Not that he's mean or aggressive or anything, but I do think the bears are scarier than they're making them look. I think they have a wild side that they're suppressing. This visual of him turning back to normal while he laughs is such incredible animation. Just like his wife, he has a beautiful laugh. And he handled the kids wrecking his kitchen incredibly well. This episode slandered Papa Bear's good name. He has the patience of a saint. I feel like both pairs of parents are actually role models in gentle parenting. They aren't perfect, but as far as I've seen, they're pretty close. In the very next episode, Little Bear wakes up his parents, and his father is snoring, so this kid covers his nose, causing him to choke. And when he fully woke up, Father Bear just starts playing with Little Bear. They launch into a tickle fight, a pillow fight. I'm exhausted just watching this. Go to sleep! I love that Father Bear wears one of those sleepy time nightcaps with the pom-pom. His whistle snore even blows it into the air. Bring back Victorian pajamas, they're so goofy. One other thing to acknowledge, Little Bear is an only child. Later on in the series, Franklin has a little sister. The little sister is first seen in the first Franklin movie, Franklin and the Green Knight. Kids shows introducing siblings in their first movie is so cliche in a way I love. It's dependable and fun and silly. I know some people hate when new main characters are introduced in cartoons, but it always amuses me. Goose and Bear are so excited for Franklin to have a little sibling and are hyping him up, but Beaver is such a buzzkill. She keeps insisting that Franklin is going to be beat up by his new sister.
Then when she's feeling better, she hits him in the eye. But when you teach her painting, she'll end up painting you.
Oh, and this is all sung, by the way. And she's gonna kick your ass. Oh, everybody knows that Franklin will be turned to turtle soup, 'cause his siblings gonna kill him, and I'll laugh hi hee hee hoo. Beaver, shut the hell up. Oh, also the kids can't sing for shit, but it's done in a way that's very endearing.
Thing we like about brothers and sisters.
Time for me to act like Simon Cowell for a bunch of 4-year-olds again. Brothers and sisters, the note is here. Your sibling will hate you. By the end of the song, they all encourage Franklin, except for Snail, because this whole time Franklin was a big brother figure to him, so now he's jealous and left out. The most interesting part was this special showing Franklin's mom pregnant. I thought they'd all be waiting around an egg, but since this show is for humans, and humans get pregnant, they wanted to show Franklin eagerly waiting to be a big brother in the same way a human child watching at home would. That isn't what the fandom is up in arms about, though. For the rest of the series, they keep aging up the sister Harriet, but they didn't age up the rest of the characters. I don't blame the wiki's exasperation at this. In the special Franklin's Magic Christmas, Harriet has aged up to be around 2 to 3 years old, despite Franklin and his friends seemingly remaining the same age. Later on, beginning with the 5th season, Harriet is a regular character in the Franklin series. Once again, she seems slightly older despite Franklin and his friends remaining the same age. Seriously, why don't they just age up the other characters too?
Dazzling images on a huge silver screen.
Little Bear has 1 movie and Franklin has 4. For the sake of this video, I'll only be talking about Franklin and the Turtle Lake Treasure, but first let's start with the Little Bear movie. This was a Making Athena awe speedrun, I swear to God. Little Bear and his father are going camping together at Pudding Tree Hill, and his mom is making sure they packed everything. Papa Bear remembered almost everything before letting out a verbal oops, and he gives his wife a little kiss on the cheek. They're so cute. In this movie, I could truly appreciate the art. It is a watercolor painting, and their style just thrives in autumn. The first lyric of the first song in the soundtrack is, "It's a great big world waiting just for me," and it is so beautiful. This kid is so happy and loved and ready to explore. I will say, Little Bear is just a little bit annoying, but it makes the sweet moments with his family all the sweeter, because I just know Father Bear didn't want to leave his hat covering his eyes, having his son guide him, but Little Bear got such joy out of having his father's complete trust. I can't say I would have done the same if I was in Father Bear's non-existent shoes, but it's genuinely heartwarming. I just checked, he actually does have shoes. The parents are fully clothed head to toe. Listen to another lyric from this song. "There's a great big tree full of birds and leaves. I can spy there or just lie there. As happy as can be, it's all inside of me." Now really take in that last line. That memory lives inside us. Our experiences help shape us. Our support system lifts us. This whole movie made me want to cry over nature versus nurture. Little Bear meets another cub named Cub. He is a bear who lives in the wilderness, so he's a lot more rough. He walks on all 4s. He's pretty much exactly what you'd think of when you think of a bear, except he talks. At first they got off on the wrong foot, or a wrong paw, but then Cub saves him from a mountain lion who tried to eat Little Bear.
Jesus Christ!
Little Bear was way too trusting of that very obvious predator, very obviously trying to eat him. I knew everything would be okay because, come on, it's Little Bear, but that was still way scarier than I ever thought this show would get. He is a good villain. The voice acting is top notch.
Is that your tummy growling? You must be hungry.
Famished.
Also, I wish they told Father Bear that happened. I don't know why Little Bear was left alone without so much as a warning. Father Bear, you dropped the ball on that one, I will say. Back to Little Bear and Cub's new friendship. Like I said, they both speak the same language, but everything else is a culture shock. Cub is bewildered to see that they live in a house, he loves their food, and Cub confides in Little Bear that he and his parents got separated in a storm. So Little Bear gathers his friends to have a search party. They really want to reunite Cub and his parents. So first things first, they're making missing posters, and this very tonally strange song plays.
Everybody wants to paint my picture.
Everybody wants to paint my picture is a weird lyric for a song about a missing child. This scene is goofy as hell. Duck eats paint because she's an idiot. Duck is almost eaten by that same mountain lion, just as terrifying as ever. This movie is so good. Cub's father, after saving Little Bear, lets out a hearty laugh that's just as beautiful as the clothed privileged bear's laugh. I love that there's mutual respect between the different ways both bear families live. Even though Cub enjoyed some parts of Little Bear's life, he slept under the bed and bonked his head, and kept wishing that they were in a real cave. I wonder if proximity to humans has anything to do with these differences. Keep that in your back pocket. Franklin and the Turtle Lake Treasure is the series finale before the reboot. Immediately, the animation is hitting my eye all wrong. The colors are off. Franklin is far too light. They supposedly wanted to make more detailed backgrounds, but it just looks flat. Franklin's aunt has a goddaughter named Sam, and she teases Franklin about her scaring him and the fact that he's a year younger than her. So Franklin retaliates long after she was rude to him. In a very public setting, he is petty. And for whatever reason, the adults are convinced they got off on the wrong foot. I don't blame them for encouraging a second try, but the whole bring flowers thing? Weird.
Why not take Sam some flowers?
Flowers? That's a girl thing.
Exactly. Girls always fall for flowers.
She's his aunt's goddaughter, so they're not related, but that doesn't mean there has to be a ship. I wish the movie was just weird absurd. It takes a real downer turn. We hear about Granny's time capsule. She told the story of why she never went back for her time capsule, and the kids are sitting crisscross.
Why did you make this map for her? Yeah, what did you bury there?
Oh, you kids don't want to hear my old story.
They're so excited to hear it, because how could they have known that both of her parents died in a fire right in front of her?
What?
And this isn't like Cub's parents who are just out there and they reunite. No, they are dead. And it's heavily implied that Granny's dying too, but not before crying about her traumatic childhood. Guys, this isn't what we watch Franklin for. I don't know if they were trying to give Disney a run for their money by aggressively tugging at our heartstrings, but it just doesn't fit this series. Granny takes a tumble right after she told that story. Franklin can count by twos and open old wounds. Today he'll learn that some scars never heal, because I don't think she's gonna make it. And it's all his fault. Yeah, where is the narrator when you need her? Goddamn. Now they're on a quest to find the time capsule that has a talisman to save Granny's life. And there's a song.
So much to see along the way. We can find some time to play with the pirate map and...
I'm gonna preemptively give Little Bear a point, because their movie was leagues better. But back to this awful plot. We meet an old turtle who introduces herself as Old Turtle.
I am Old Turtle.
Yeah, we can see that. This old lady shares that Franklin's granny's father saved her life. And then she flexes that she's been alive so long she's lost count, thanks to her talisman. And I was not ready for what this relic looks like. It is 3D CGI out of nowhere, and it also looks like a damn grenade. Old Turtle is all sad when the kids ask if they can borrow her talisman. And I'm just gonna say it, Old Turtle is greedy as shit. Franklin insists she should keep her life force since she's being such a baby about it. So now they're off to look for Granny's time capsule again, and Bear starts to complain about Franklin being friends with Sam.
You've hardly had anything to do with any of us since Sam showed up. It's like she's your girlfriend or something.
This is so stupid. Franklin is having the worst day of his life. Worstest, even. Leave him alone. And then they even try to sneak shippy shit in here. His grandma is dying. We don't have time for this. But it turns out they have time for a lot of unnecessary drama. Snail is all of a sudden an idiot, verbal diarrheaing that Franklin insulted Sam right after Sam was nice to him.
I think you've been very sweet and very brave this whole trip.
Boy, I bet you feel bad now, huh, Franklin?
Why would he feel badly?
He told Bear he was just being nice to you because his parents made him.
Bitch! Then Snail almost gets eaten by baby birds. Franklin helped the crow that abducted his friend.
Little Crow doesn't have a family. Hey, maybe she could stay with you and your family.
Really cool that he just volunteered that on her behalf. Mind you, this bird just saved his life and he repays her by going, "All right, here's another mouth to feed. Bye." Every single character has gotten stupider. Turns out, this bear that they just saved from a ditch, too much is happening. This bear found Granny's time capsule years ago, and he also just so happens to be a hoarder. So they're looking for this box, but none of them know what it looks like. Somehow they figured it out because of a riddle old turtle gave them. I guess she isn't completely useless. And Granny's fever broke after looking at a picture of her parents. They exclaimed that her fever broke, but no one checked. People who wake up from comas can't have fevers, I guess. And more importantly than Granny's miraculous recovery, Sam kissed Franklin on the cheek. Let's go! Let's go! That's what I'm talking about. That is the easiest point to Little Bear I've ever seen in my life. Even though Franklin had a slight better start than Little Bear had a stronger conclusion by a mile. Little Bear's quality got better throughout the series. Franklin's seemingly got worse. This is a terrible finale, hate to say it. Let's look at some more similarities. On top of being on the same programming block, they both had talking plushes produced by the company Kid Power. And the commercials are so similar. It's no wonder people thought they were in the same universe.
I'm your Little Bear.
I'm Franklin.
According to Wikipedia, they both also had live shows. I was searching for hours. I wanted to see what these shows looked like, but I couldn't find a single thing. So please, if you have been to these shows, and especially if you have photos, let me know in the comments. I am so curious. I think the one thing that sets these series apart, other than the presence of humans, is the CGI reboot. Franklin and Friends ran from 2011 to 2013. And even though it had a short run, it totaled 52 episodes and 2 specials. Not too shabby. I feel like people shit all over CGI nowadays, so this is going to be a controversial take, but in terms of character design, I think they did a damn good job. Most of these characters work almost as well in 3D. I feel like this is Beaver's true form, I'm just gonna say it. The turtles look good, Snail looks great. I'll admit, Rabbit and Bear look a bit rough. I think they had more trouble with fluffier animals. I also don't know why they're so insistent on making songs.
Nice song, girls.
Liars go to hell, Franklin. The dialogue in this series is also way more awkward.
Hey there, little sand fleas. You're funny, Rabbit.
Professor Crazy here.
And this is a tough pill to swallow, but in so many episodes, Franklin is just as bossy as Beaver is. No one else agreed to playing school, but because Franklin started it, no one can leave for snack time. Franklin says they have to wait until he dismisses them. If Beaver did this, the internet would be calling for her execution. Franklin is a diva. Franklin is a brat. But it's seen as him caring. He just wants to teach his sister how to count so that Mr. Owl can be impressed with him. Beaver would do the exact same shit. The wiki called her a narcissist. Sexism. International Women's Month has been hitting me hard. Now, Little Bear doesn't have a reboot, but if it did, I don't think CGI would be the way to go for their characters and story and art style. I don't know if this is still in development, but in 2022, the voice of Little Bear, Kristen Fairley, shared in an interview that they were working on a series where Little Bear is an adult. I don't know what stage this is in. Are they pitching it to studios? It was very vague, and now 4 years later, I don't believe we've heard any new news. I think if they follow through with this series, they should name it Not So Little Bear. Or Little Bear, but big. Just spitballing here. Also, this is how I learned that the voice of Little Bear went on to voice Bridget from Total Drama.
Where are we?
The first time we see Emily in the TV show was in the episode Little Bear's New Friend. Just like in the book, Little Bear helps Emily find her family's campsite. But here we see them bond a lot more. They share cookies, they share their love of cookies, They cross a stream. There was a really interesting detail at the end of the episode where it seems like Emily wants to introduce Little Bear to her parents, but Little Bear nervously says, I think I hear my mother calling, and there is no Mother Bear voice we hear. It seems like Little Bear is a bit cautious around adult humans, and I wondered why, until I saw one of the few other times humans other than Emily were mentioned and seen in this series. Look at Father Bear fighting off pirates. The wiki also mentions a ringmaster, a profession notoriously terrible to bears. In the next episode, Emily says her and Little Bear should get married. They did a little ceremony where they wore rubber band rings. It was pretty cute, but when Emily said she wanted a kiss from Little Bear, he bounced. Very different than how he was in the books. In Where Lucy Went, we see that Emily is in good spirits even after losing her doll Lucy. Book Emily would have been inconsolable, but in this TV episode, not only did Emily lose her doll, but all of her friends are guessing what happened to the doll, and some of these guesses include torture.
Well, maybe they'll play a game using Lucy as the ball.
Just like in the books, the goblins look more like gnomes, but unlike the books, the show implies they're actually real. It isn't just their imagination. These goblins show up once all the characters are off screen. Interesting. That means that both of these series have canonical magic, because the talisman scene in the last Franklin movie not only helps these turtles live forever, seemingly, but it also gives Old Turtle the power to control these butterflies and have visions. There are no humans in Franklin. Instead, the more human-like animals, or really just the ones that can speak, have pets. It's clear they have replaced humans in this world. But in Little Bear, there are no non-speaking animals. Even the wild animals speak. I am terrible at identifying time period and geography, so I'm just going to take the Wikipedia's word. Little Bear takes place in the 1800s in the American wilderness. Very vague. But it explains the old-timey clothes. And also the tech. Look at this camera. Wikipedia says it's implied that Franklin takes place in Manitoba. It doesn't specify a time period for Franklin, but the baseball cap is screaming 80s to me. Many people have mistaken Franklin's friend Bear for Little Bear. I see no reason why Little Bear can't be Bear's great-great-grandpa. I think Bear is a descendant of Little Bear. But what happened to all the humans if this is the same timeline? I think we either went extinct, or we evolved into one of these creatures. Man, I don't know. I'd have to watch more of both of these shows. But in my brain, Bear and Little Bear being related is canon. And listen, I know there's no evidence besides the time period, the presence of magic in both series, and the fact that they're both bears. But you know what? Sometimes headcanons could be pulled straight from the ass. Ass cannon. No head involved. But lovers, I sure hope you enjoyed. I really want to make more familiar feuds. And I'm not even fully convinced this is the last time I'm talking about these two shows. So leave in a comment below what your favorite episodes of these shows are. And which is your favorite? Are you a Franklin girly? Are you a Little Bear girly? Are you like me where you can't choose? I'm sorry, they're both icons. It depends on what mood I'm in. Subscribe if you enjoyed. We're almost at 300,000 subscribers, which blows my mind. Thank you so much. I appreciate you more than I can say. And have a great day. I do demand it. Bye!